Hello, everyone, and good day to you. This is Roger Deering with Wingo Games Unlimited, the creator of Dungeon Crusade, and I want to sincerely thank you for your time and interest in checking out the game. We're very grateful to you, and I believe you're going to love this particular video series. So whether you are acclimated to the game already or you're new to the game, we welcome you, and I hope you enjoyed the Spotlight series on Dungeon Crusade. First off, we're going to take a quick look at the 4 dungeon boards for Dungeon Crusade. Then we'll do a flyover of the Ancient Runes dungeon board for you, but throughout this series, we'll be looking at each one of them. Something else that I would like to mention as we are looking at these dungeon boards is while the dungeon boards are static, everything, and I do mean everything, that goes into these dungeons is randomized from game to game. I am huge on replayability, so rest assured you'll never see the same game twice. You can run the same scenario over and over and get a different result each time. The videos in this particular series are going to be like 2 to 4 minutes, like kind of featurette videos, if you will, that will be very focused, informative, and to the point for whatever we are discussing in that particular video, so you can become familiar with Dungeon Crusade very quickly. This introduction to the series will have a longer runtime because we are going to jump around here and touch on many of the game's unique features and game mechanics. I'd also like you to know that we are partnered with the outstanding Wingo Games for manufacturing, and we are on the verge of going into mass production. So it was the right time to create the Spotlight series and let people know about the game and that there is an active pledge manager. The link for it is in the description below for you. So if you would like to check it out, you can find information on the 3 editions of the game and a few add-ons being offered at this time. In this series, we are going to chat about the fundamentals of the game, some of the unique and innovative game mechanics, and many of the features you'll find in Dungeon Crusade. So starting off here, I set out years ago to create and develop Dungeon Crusade. I wanted to break the mold of the fantasy adventure dungeon crawl genre and give fellow gamers and people something very innovative, thematic, immersive, challenging, and fun. And looking at the final product, I truly believe we achieved something very special for people with the game. Dungeon Crusade is an open-world dungeon crawl board game and possibly a first of its kind. And I define open world by its 3 by 2 foot dungeon boards. I put a huge amount of thematic storytelling and lore throughout the game, but not too much where it bogs the game down, but just the right amount. I'd also like to tell you that I'm a die-hard soloist board gamer, so I built Dungeon Crusade from the ground up for the soloist gamer, but it can be played co-op just as easily. With Wingo Games Unlimited, we're going to be creating games that cater exclusively to the soloist board gamer, but there will always be that option to play co-op, of course, so you can play either way. One thing I wanted to touch on in this introduction video is an exclusive game mechanic I developed for Dungeon Crusade called the Patrol Route System. What this does is it creates a living dungeon, if you will, where monsters and creatures move with unpredictable movement patterns, so you'll never know where they will go to next in the corridors and the hallways of the dungeon. This unique system works incredibly well for solo and co-op play and gives the monsters and creatures of the game a sort of artificial intelligence, if you will. So you are going to be seeing a lot of the game in this introduction video, but there are no worries at all, my friends. I'm going to cover all of this for you and explain everything within the Dungeon Crusade universe. Also, in the future, I'll be doing a video rulebook series to teach you the game. As the creator, I feel it's my job and responsibility to do this for people so they can learn the game very easily. Something else I want you to know is while Dungeon Crusade is a massive game, it has quite easy game mechanics. I generally don't care all that much for complex games. I wanted people's minds on the fun stuff in the game, like strategy, tactics, planning, slaying monsters, getting loot, leveling up their heroes, and just so much more. In regards to the size of the game, I wanted to immerse the player in the whole experience. I'm someone who loves games with a huge footprint. So as you can see, Dungeon Crusade is massive, but I think it's it draws you into the whole experience. This board that we're looking at right now, that we just looked at rather, is called the Village board. And when the heroes complete a series of quests on a quest table, they head back to the village for something called Celebration Day. And this is when they can level up their heroes, receive blessings, get new gear, and a lot of other stuff. Okay guys, get ready. We are going to just glaze over many features in Dungeon Crusade, but again, within the Spotlight series, I'll be back to go a little more in depth for you. So let's get going. So with the first thing here I'd like to point out that I think you'll enjoy learning about is the innovative scenario book, or rather scenarios in the game, that have 3 different game modes and 6 various difficulties. There are so many ways to customize many features and aspects in the game, so you can create a unique game mode for your playstyle or try new ones out. As you're seeing on the screen, in adjusting these various game settings and creating your own quests and scenarios, which you can do in Dungeon Crusade, you can play with 6, 5, 4, or 3 heroes. The standard way is playing with 6 heroes. However, you can also play Mega Dungeon Crusade with running 8, 10, or 12 heroes if you receive the Hero Expansion Pack. The bottom line is there are many ways to enjoy this game. That was one of the things that was paramount in creating Dungeon Crusade, is to give players a game with unlimited replayability. And as we're looking here, there's 10 scenarios and 60 unique quests in the game. Okay, the next thing we're going to be looking at is the Blessing deck. At the start of the game and on Celebration Day, your heroes can visit the temple in the village, pay 200 gold, and possibly receive an angel that will watch over them. There's many different angels in the game, and they give you different bonuses. A quick look here. There's 193 pieces of unique loot in the game with 9 different rarities. We'll be looking at that further along in the Spotlight series. Heroes in Dungeon Crusade can level up to level 3, and each of the heroes has 3 unique special abilities that can also be leveled up to level 3. Okay, next we're going to be looking at the Bazaar. And the Bazaar is located in the village. At the start of the game and on the celebration days, heroes can visit the Bazaar and stock up on potions and torches. However, the heroes have a fetch hound named Albus, and Albus can be sent back to the village to bring back potions, torches, and even gear for them. The hierarchy of monsters in Dungeon Crusade are minions, champions, and guardians. Champion monsters reside in the chambers of the dungeon, and we can see that Sir Brennus has entered into a chamber, and he's encountered a level 3 champion monster. All monster tokens that you see like that are champion monsters. We're going to go over here and draw from the level 3 champion monster deck. Also know that there are 2 forms of the monsters. For champion monsters, there's normal versions that just have the origin stories I wrote from where they came from in Avalon, and then elite versions have nasty special abilities. The next thing we're going to be looking at is the treasure chest deck, and I call this the ultimate in risk and reward. The treasure chest deck consists of 30 treasure chest cards. There's a lot of gold to find, guys. There's some long lost artifacts, but there's also some very nasty stuff. So you could find, like Zeke, our wizard here, he just found 1,200 gold, but there also could be some nasty stuff. We're going to be looking at this more in the Spotlight series, but be careful when you open treasure chests. Okay, we're going to look at the encounter deck. You get 86 encounter cards with Dungeon Crusade, and they consist of interlude cards, event cards, challenges, which are very fun, and environment cards. Okay, I wanted to touch on this really quick. I wanted to address true party building with Dungeon Crusade, that you have to rally, like we just saw that initiative token. You can rally up to 3 heroes together to take on the guardians of the dungeon. And the big guy there is Banevik, one of the guardians. Very tough. There's also a unique trap system in Dungeon Crusade. So we see that's our Battle Mage Lorena. And let me point something out. When there's 20 trap tokens, there's 10 trap symbols like we're going to see, and 10 clear. So every game this is randomized, where you don't know if it's going to be, your hero made it clear, or they're going to have to encounter a trap. If it is a trap like we just saw, you draw from the trap deck. And I worked with the amazing Dean Spencer, and we wanted to go very retro for you for the trap cards. So 17 unique trap cards in the game. We're going to be looking now at the quest tables. There's level 1, level 2, and level 3. Notice the token there. That was a main quest that I just flipped over. That's a side quest, and kill the guardians. When you complete those quests, you basically close the book. Notice it's a closed book. That's an Elder Globe. It's red. When you've cleared the quest, it's green. There's purity in the dungeon. You head to the village for Celebration Day. Another unique mechanic in Dungeon Crusade is mining and crafting. At the start of the game, you're going to put out these tokens that say unexplored. There's 4 fake mining sites and 4 real ones. So we can see Maheliak just discovered mining site B. And these are, of course, randomized each game. That's his pickaxe. Your pickaxe can also degrade over time. There's a possibility of it. We just rolled a D3, and whatever the result is, we're going to go over to mining site B and draw a card. What's going to be drawn is, see, there's mining site B, and I'm pointing there, that's mining site, the deck for B. And he has mined and found a piece of moonstone. Moonstone and Zultanite are your main materials for mining and crafting. And then there's precious stones. Another unique and fun game mechanic is lockpicking in Dungeon Crusade, and I think you're really going to enjoy this. Sir Brennis here is come upon a secret room. Now usually you're going to have to do a wisdom check, and you're going to have 3 attempts to discover the secret room, but we're going to bypass that and go right into the lockpicking. And I'm very excited to show this to you. And that's my old relic chalice cup. And right there, those are lockpicking tokens. And this is that fun mechanic where you put these things into a bag or cup. So we're going to put those in there, and we're going to draw one at random. And you're going to notice there's a white number to the left. That's as many attempts you have to pick the lock. And then you're going to use those colored D6 dice. And you're going to roll, and you have to meet or exceed those values to pop the lock. And so you set successive rolls aside. You can also add your hero's lockpicking attribute to this. So let's just say that Sir Brennis successfully picked that lock. He's going to enter in. And yet again, another cool aspect, secret rooms. You can either find secret rooms, or it's going to be a desolate chamber. So we're going to draw here, and we're going to see what Sir Brennis has found. And he has found a treasure chamber, and he has found 1,500 gold. Very awesome. I mentioned the patrol route system at the start of the introduction video, and we're going to take a look at it real quick. That's the patrol route die. Notice there's 4 different footprints in different colors. That's a Blackwood Prowler, and he's on that skull pile, and those same colors and footprints are going throughout the dungeon. So we noticed that's a blue patrol route. His base movement is 5, and you roll a 2, so he's going to move 7 on the blue patrol route. This gives the monsters unpredictable movement patterns and a living dungeon experience for you. Okay, we briefly looked at mining. We're going to look at crafting now. First note, the blacksmith in the village will craft power gems for you when you give him the required materials and precious stones. What I just pointed to is a socket. That's a legendary piece of gear, the Dark Moon Battle Axe. That's a recipe card. This thing will tell you you can create a greater amethyst prowess gem. You need 2 moonstone, 2 zultanite, and 2 amethyst for the blacksmith to create it. Once he creates it, you just kind of slide it under the weapon, the card, and then it kind of plugs into that socket there. So you'll get a +4 to mythical warfare rolls with that. There's also tavern tasks. The game comes with 6 tavern task cards. You randomly draw one of these at the start of the game. And guys, these are totally optional. You don't have to complete these. However, you can get life force, which is like XP in the game. You can get gold and other rewards by completing tavern tasks. Those characters you see are characters from the story I wrote for Dungeon Crusade. This next piece of content here is something I was incredibly passionate about. This is the Avalon adventure board game. And quickly, you can play this before playing Dungeon Crusade. And when you're done, if your heroes survive in the land of Avalon, you can import them into Dungeon Crusade. Whatever loot, whatever gold they find in Avalon, you may start the game with. Notice those runes there. Those are called the runes of eternity. There was the green, yellow, and red, but then there's 6 fake ones. So at the start of every game, those are randomized with a certain game mechanic that you'll learn about. So when you play this, it'll be different every time. So it's like a choose your own adventure, but with a spin on it. Again, I absolutely love this game. In playtesting this, we sometimes took the same path, and it was different every time. So I wrote 259 unique events, encounters, situations, and battles just for this game. There is just so much lore in this, and it just drips with just thematic content. You'll meet good and bad factions, tons of NPCs, and when you start playing Dungeon Crusade and your heroes are doing the quests, they'll actually pop up in the quest there. So all of this really ties in together. Notice on the left there's the bronze, silver, and gold treasure chests. Every game that's also randomized, so when your heroes do find a certain treasure chest, it always has something different inside of it. But look out, there could be junk loot inside of those also. And right here we're going to go up and take a look at them. And again, there's a certain way you set all of this up with the loot cards from Dungeon Crusade. Also, you're going to incorporate a lot of your pieces and parts from Dungeon Crusade with the Avalon Adventure board game. Right there we're looking at an adventure card. And again, there's 52 unique regions, and each of the adventure cards has 2 good outcomes, 2 bad outcomes, and 1 kind of middle of the road where it's just kind of neutral. I think you're really going to enjoy this game. We're going to look at a quick example here. Notice the red tokens. That means the heroes have already explored that region. They just entered into the Ancient Ruins. They put a red tracking token, and you would draw the Ancient Ruins adventure card. Notice the numbers on the left there. You're going to roll a d12, and whatever the result is, that is the encounter you're going to have there in that region. Here, this is called the battle boards. There's a dungeon side and an outdoor side. So we had rolled a 2 on the d12, and we're going to be fighting against some skeletal grunts that came bursting out of the doors of the Ancient Ruins. This has its own unique little battle system. Fun little battle system, nothing too heavy, to keep the action and the gameplay very smooth for you. But it's very fun though. And this is just one more example. The heroes are moving into the Vile Tower region. They put their tracking token down. Now, normally you'd have to draw an adventure card and have the encounter first, but you can see they have found the red Rune of Eternity. This may be one of the most unique features in Dungeon Crusade. Remember we talked about Celebration Day? Well, on Celebration Day, your heroes can enter into the House of Chance and gamble. There's actually a gambling hall in Dungeon Crusade. Now, the first game we're going to look at here, there's 4 games, and there's only one, and it's randomly decided. Tower Attack here comes with all editions of Dungeon Crusade. So what this is a dice pushing game, and the evil skeleton army has taken over the tower, so your hero has to fight up the tower to get the tower back. We can see there's level 1 where you bet 100 gold, but you can win 200 gold. Notice those values with those colors. You're going to be using the D12 dice in those colors. So green, purple, and orange. And the values there, what you do is you have 3 attempts, and you have to roll the dice, and you can set successive rolls aside. You have to meet or exceed those values. If you can do that within those 3 attempts, you move up the tower to the next, to the next level where you can win a bigger payout. So we see our hero Korath, our warlock hero, is going to attempt level 1. And I used that red marker there just to show it was on level 1, pays the 100 gold. And then he would roll those 3 dice, and you would set successive rolls aside, of course, if it meets or exceeds those values shown. Now, I personally think this next House of Chance game is going to be a favorite of people. And this is a game I created called Skulljack. And it's basically a simple form of blackjack, where up to 3 heroes take on the evil dealer Skulljack. We can see that there's a bank there. At the start, you would put 2,000 gold, and forgive me, I put 2,500 gold in that. But you put 2,000 gold into the bank, and then each hero to play must bet 200 gold, and that's where I'm there. So we have Faith, our cleric. She's in slot 1, and she's betting 200 gold. And then Lyrena, our battle mage there, she's going into slot 2, paying her 200 gold to take on the evil dealer Skulljack. And finally, Maheliak, our barbarian, he's on slot 3, and he's going to bet 200 gold. A really nice thing that we did, you're getting a custom deck of Dungeon Crusade Skulljack playing cards. And we thank Wingo Games for that. They worked that out for us. Thank you. That looks very awesome, very retro. And so basically, it's like you deal a card to each hero. All heroes get cards face up. And then, Skulljack gets 1 face up and 1 face down. Skulljack has to hit up to a 16. He holds on a 17. And then after this game, you do reshuffle the cards if you'd like to play again. But be careful. When you play with 3 heroes, you can lose a lot of gold. But you can win a lot of gold. Okay, the next House of Chance game we're going to look at is a game I created called Heroes versus Monsters. And in this game, that the 3 heroes must valiantly defend the Chapel of Light. And there's our heroes. There's a warrior, a mage, and an archer. There's the challenge cards. There's 8 challenge cards, level 1 through 8. There's kind of the battlefield. And there's the baddies right there. A grunt. You get grunts, skeletons, wizards, and a beast. Very tough to kill. There's where you put your challenge deck, and then the challenge and play you place there. And each of the heroes, I created some very simple special abilities. And they use an action point system to play this game. Again, we're going to go more in depth with this, throughout the Spotlight series. But at the start, say we're playing level 1, you take your heroes and you put them in the Chapel of Light. They can move onto the battlefield anywhere from the Chapel of Light. So we're going to be looking at one of the challenge cards here. But again, they use action points to move. And you just use the red markers from Dungeon Crusade for that. There's the challenge cards, and we're going to go to level 1. And on the reverse side, you're going to see how to set them up, like how the monsters are invading. So right there, level 1 is very simple. We're going to have 3 grunts attempting to siege the Chapel of Light. And so I'm pointing out there that notice those are grunts. Then we're going to go up to the top and grab the grunts. And we'll put them on the board as shown on the card. And then, of course, they move down. And it's a very simple game. Probably takes about 10 to 15 minutes, depending how you do in it. It can get very challenging, but you can, again, win a lot of gold with Heroes versus Monsters. I also want to add that these games were not a novelty just to put in. That, you can only play 1 game on Celebration Day, but sometimes your heroes are going to come back to the village, guys, on Celebration Day, and they're going to be low on gold. They're going to need potions. They're going to need new gear. You're going to have to head into the House of Chance and attempt to win some gold for them. Okay, this last game here was my favorite one in designing because I absolutely love dungeon crawls. This is the Adventures of Bravely the Knight. And man, do I love this game. Notice right there, I work with the amazing Damien Maimolity. I wanted to make it look like an old arcade machine where, you insert gold here. Damien did just such an amazing job. I gave him the prototype and just amazing. So what it is I created this character named Bravely. and you'll see him here. And he has to head into this death trap dungeon and try to retrieve gold for the heroes. You pay 500 gold. You kind of put 500 gold into the machine, so to speak. And then you can choose, do you want to head north or do you want to go east in the dungeon? Then you use the retro spinner, and then bravely moves throughout the dungeon, and you're going to have little battles. There's a magic sword in there. You can maybe find a healing potion to heal bravely. But I was pointing there, you stock the machine with 2,500 gold. That's what bravely can get out of there to give to your heroes. And when you place 500 gold in the machine, that gives bravely 10 health. So I was very inspired by like a video game when I created this one. And there's this little hero card for his health. And if you find the magic sword, you can add +1 to your dice rolls. And so that's a little bit of Bravely the Knight. And here I'm just stacking up his health tokens for if he takes damage. Very, very fun little dungeon crawl game. And again, you could play all these games as a standalone. You know, if you just want to play, you know, Bravely the Knight to see how much gold you can get out, that's totally fine. And there is the awesome cardboard miniature for Bravely. Truly love this game. Okay, everyone, we did it. We are at the end of the introduction video for the Spotlight series at Dungeon Crusade. And I sincerely hope you enjoyed this. And I'll tell you, I'm very excited to get to all of the other videos in the series and show you what an innovative, creative, and thematic experience awaits you within the land of Avalon, where Dungeon Crusade takes place. The next video in the series you'll be seeing, I think you're going to enjoy. It's just called Origins. And in this video, I would like to briefly tell you some of the games throughout the years I've played and what inspired me years ago to create Dungeon Crusade for fellow gamers and people. I'm guessing many of you guys and gals out there have played some of these games also. So it would be nice to hang out with you, take a stroll down memory lane as we talk about Dungeon Crusade. I want to thank you again for your time and interest in checking out the game, and we have a lot of exciting videos on the way for you. So stay tuned. Have a great day, all, and I'll be talking to you very soon. Bye-bye.